morning. I'm here at the massive tree of life, estimated to be somewhere between 300 and 500 years old. And this is where I come to sit quietly and think, or not think. I wanted to talk about something more general. I've had some pretty specific topics on this channel before, and I'm going to focus on more general, broad, sweeping subjects that may help inspire you, or at least to think. At least to think about things that may be going on currently, or things that maybe happened in the past. There's been a lot of great teachers in the world, left behind a whole lot of helpful tips on how to live, how to navigate not just life but your own mind. I have some experience in reprogramming, deprogramming myself and other people, and the goal here with this video and all the future videos is to stay firmly in the present and to work on getting a little insight into the present moment. Right now it's about 50 degrees, which is considerably cold in Louisiana. There was a woodpecker on the tree when I arrived. Beautiful little white and black bird. There's no one here practically at this park. And it's a beautiful day. I had to get outside. So I'm going to inquire into difficulty and how to understand that, as it presently occurs in the mind, in the moment in which it occurs. So when you are faced with some difficulty or challenge or even pain, it can be very difficult to stay in the present moment. And whenever you start thinking about incidences in the past where you face difficulty, and you're facing difficulty in the present, and you're thinking about difficulties of the future, you're fighting on 3 different fronts. Imagine someone behind you, in front of you, and directly to either side of you, and you're having to constantly defend against them. It's like you're being ganged up on. So that is what your mind will do in the face of difficulty and pain. And this may be obvious, but it may not be. This is why I'm making the video. And I'll paraphrase some great thinkers that I've studied throughout. There are many ways to think about your present situation. You can look at your present situation from a filter of the past, or from a filter in the future. Now, this is a slightly different scenario than feeling attacked by the past or the future, because you're filtering things out. You may be optimistically filtering things out, or you may be negatively filtering things out. In the case of the former, it's not so much like you're being attacked. You may be optimistically looking at your past and how it's shaped you and formed you into who you are, or you may be optimistically looking from your future in a similar manner. And in the latter, you may be looking at the past or the future in a frame, a negative frame. So you are the result of what has happened to you in the past. You cannot escape it, and you are inevitably destined to experience the future in a similar manner. The difficult part about dealing with difficulty is experiencing the present simply as it is. And there is some tricky language here that someone, especially someone with a similar history to myself, may think that I am somehow trying to edge something in from some other school of thought or philosophy of a nefarious origin. The truth is that I haven't studied that stuff in a very long time. But the unfortunate truth is that there are many things in many nefarious practices, such as any religion, that have truth in it. You can't really ignore the truth. So when I say being in the present moment and experiencing it as it is, there's nothing new about that. These ideas have been around for thousands of years. So experiencing things in the present as they are is not a particular brand of nefarious origin. So on to difficulty and pain. Again, there is no enemy that can hurt you more than your own thoughts unguarded. Buddha said, with our thoughts we make the world. Speak or act with an impure thought, and trouble will follow you as the wheel that follows the ox that draws the cart. Speak or act with a pure mind, and happiness will follow you as your shadow, unshakable. So, how does that actually help us? How can that help you? How does that help me? Well, for starters, if you've been exposed to environments in the past, there's been exposures to people who have made you feel like your volition, your ambition, your perseverance, your thoughts and ideas of how you could make yourself better, how you could make the world better, how you can improve yourself, how you can improve someone else's life. If those thoughts have been constantly challenged and negatively reinforced or positively reinforced, then you may run into traps in your own mind that will trick you into thinking that it's not possible for you to improve anything. That is a difficulty. And the difficult part about realizing the truth of this is is that that difficulty in and of itself is part of your growth. Failure and difficulty, getting to a point where you're just not sure anymore of what you need to do, where you're doubting yourself, where you are experiencing emotional pain and experiencing sadness, grief, hopelessness. These are all difficulties that are very serious and can stop you right in your tracks. Because at every point in these difficulties, there is a way to forget it. There's a way to stop the incessant, never-ending, seemingly never-ending pestering thoughts about the past and the future, doubt about your future, regret about your past. And you can succumb to those things, and it will feel like relief. For instance, if you are stressing or struggling about some goal that you've had, something that requires more time than you've been able to commit to it, and you have something to distract you, like your job or your spouse, your girlfriend, your boyfriend, or TV. These things are very good distractions, and they will take you away from the feeling of hopelessness temporarily. The problem with succumbing to these sorts of desires is that once you do that, you are effectively taking some steps back away from the problem at hand. So the difficulties in difficulty is that it's too difficult. It's just too difficult. Because you must face difficulties in order to face the difficulty. There may be more difficulties. It's an incredibly trying exercise. Because when you start facing difficulties, more difficulties seem to come up. You'll find yourself swimming in your own thoughts. And what are you supposed to do about that? And you might find yourself in a very pointed failure to do something that you set out to do or didn't do that you planned on doing. And you may see no way to correct the situation. You may try to think of things to correct the situation. Jiddu Krishnamurti did a talk once in Ojai about why the constant urge to improve yourself. Sometimes you may need to let go of the idea that you may be able to let certain things go. If you have a persistent thought in your mind or goal in your mind that has never gone away, it may not ever go away. There may be things from your past that may never seem to go away. There may be things that you worry about your future, for your family or yourself, that may never go away. So why the urge to improve that? Why the urge to change that? There's a common meme online that has a very simple little flow chart about, are you worried about something? And it goes to yes and no. If it's yes, then it asks, is there anything you can do about it? And then it goes to yes and no. And from there, the end result it's all the same. Don't worry about it. If there's something you can do about it, don't worry about it. If there's nothing you can do about it, don't worry about it. So these two ideas are connected. On one hand, why the constant urge to improve ourselves? On the other, why worry about it? Because if you can't improve yourself, then there's nothing to worry about. Your worries and concerns about being able to accomplish whatever it is you're concerned about can be handled. And if not, then they're not able to be handled. Either way, there's no point in worrying about it. Failure. Failure is your best teacher. Failure has been my best teacher. Maybe it's not yours, but it has been a great teacher for me. And again, it's difficult. It has gotten much easier because I can see that failure is a very good motivating factor. When you fail, you have a chance to look at what you did, and you tend to be very honest with yourself. Almost too honest sometimes, too realistic, too utterly realistic, pragmatic, to a point to where you may find fault in everything that you do, not just the thing that you failed in, but everything leading up to, everything in the present, everything that could happen in the future. You may start to be overbearing on yourself. But failure is a very good way to learn how to achieve. I know this is all very general, but that is the intention, for it to be pretty general at this point. If there's something that can be learned from failure, you will definitely learn it. You'll learn about yourself because you know yourself. And even if you don't feel like you can figure yourself out, your mind will present many, many things for you to consider, and you will be able to figure that out over time. It may take a long time, but rest assured your mind will provide you with many considerations about what it was that caused your failure. So far I've talked about failure and difficulties, and there is a point to this. The point is, I want you to consider whatever it is, that thing in your life that you think will really make you happy. That thing that people have told you is better off on the back burner. That thing in your life that you've been told is a good hobby, but not something that you could do professionally. That thing that would seem to fulfill you in your life, that just isn't practical, that other people don't seem to understand why you would want to do such things. And it could be anything. It could be a relationship, it could be a business, it could be a hobby, it could be your art, it could be your family, be almost anything. Consider those things, or that thing, and think about how much difficulty you've had. Maybe you've had no difficulty, but I doubt you've sat through all this if you haven't. So in that difficulty and in those failures that you've experienced related to this one thing or these things, where are you at right now in terms of difficulty and failure? Do you feel you have failed? Are there still a tremendous amount of difficulties related to this? If there are, then you are in good shape. There actually is no reason to freak out. There's no reason to worry about it. What I would tell you, what I'm going to tell you, is that when you start to think about these difficulties and failures, and they seem to become overbearing, and your mind fills with maybe hundreds of thoughts about what you can do, what you could have done, what you should do. Explore those thoughts, but take a moment and realize that it's right now. What does that have to do with right now? The more time you spend thinking about your failures and all your difficulties, it's time you could be spending right now. Right now. On that thing. Don't listen to what anybody says trying to discourage you for pursuing that thing. If that thing fulfills you, do it. You only got one life. Ain't nobody come back yet and said, where we go. I know there's lots of things to consider if you're in a position where you feel as if there's just no way you can do it. But that is part of the difficulties. And there may yet be more failures. But it is my hope that myself and all of you, when it is time for you to pass away and leave this earth, that those around you and those that know you can never say that you didn't try. And with any luck, you will have succeeded. And for sure, those who look to you as friends and family, those that love you, no matter how much shit they may have given you, they will recognize something in you that they maybe don't recognize in themselves, and that was the ability to persevere regardless of all the things the people they cared about the most told them were not possible. Things are possible. hope you enjoyed this. If there's anything else that you'd like to hear me talk about, maybe a little more specific stuff, if you have any questions, let me know in the comments. Be happy to talk about it. I hope this was relaxing and informative and not too generic. But I think there is a baseline here that a bit of generic is needed. All right. Take care.